It starts in 1996 with Netanyahu, who wrote a book called Fighting Terrorism. And the thesis of the book is quite straightforward and very dangerous. He says, there's Hamas, there's Hezbollah, they oppose Israel. It's not good for us to fight them directly. That won't work. What we need to do is topple the governments that back them. So what we need is regime change throughout the Middle East.
In this video, Jeffrey Sachs exposes Netanyahu with some brutal facts on a debate with Piers Morgan. So Sachs starts by dropping a serious accusation that Netanyahu's 1996 book basically laid the groundwork for non-stop war across the Middle East. He breaks down how the strategy wasn't to fight Hamas or Hezbollah directly, but to push for a regime change in every country that could possibly support them. And according to Sachs, the US has been following the exact plan for decades. Syria, Iraq, Libya, all part of the list. So make sure to watch till the end to see how Jeffrey Sachs exposes Netanyahu with some brutal facts on the debate with Piers Morgan.
And he actually gave a long list of 7 countries that included Syria, Libya, Iraq, Iran, Somalia, Sudan, and Lebanon. And systematically, the United States has done Netanyahu's bidding for almost 30 years now, going to war with every one of them, except for the big one that Netanyahu so much longs for, which is the war directly between the United States and Iran. But the U.S. went to war with Syria in 2011, secretly, of course. This was what's called Operation Timber Sycamore. It was Obama assigning the CIA to overthrow Assad. Overtly, the United States overthrew Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. It's interesting, Piers, to go back to 2002. This is after 9/11, of course, to watch Netanyahu as being the lead cheerleader for the U.S. to overthrow Saddam Hussein. Now we have a treasure trove of documents coming out that this was really a war on Israel's behalf. Everything about the weapons of mass destruction was phony, known to be phony inside the U.S. government, but this was the argument that was given, and Netanyahu was there in Washington telling him it'll be just great if you take out Saddam Hussein. It's going to topple all the rest of the governments. The idea was, incidentally, that Saddam would be toppled and then the U.S. military would go right into Syria right away. But then an insurgency trapped the United States inside Iraq so that the Syrian war was actually delayed 8 years. But what we're watching is this crazy Netanyahu idea of regional war so that Israel can have its greater Israel, as they call it. In other words, everything is to stop the Palestinian cause, and the U.S. keeps being involved in these wars. And there was Jake Sullivan again today explaining, terrorists, who cares about terrorists? We're toppling Assad. And this is again for the Israel lobby.
So Sachs doesn't just stop at calling out Netanyahu's strategy. He spells it out country by country, 7 nations: Syria, Libya, Iraq, Iran, Somalia, Sudan, and Lebanon. According to him, nearly every one of them has seen US intervention that lines up exactly with what Netanyahu pushed for back in the 90s. And it's not vague. Sachs names real ops like Timber Sycamore under Obama, the push to oust Gaddafi in 2011, and the propaganda campaign for Iraq built on phony WMD claims that insiders already knew were fake. What hits hard is how blunt Sachs is about it. He's basically saying the US acted like a tool for Israel's regional goals, not its own interests. And yeah, he calls out Netanyahu by name, not just Israel broadly, but Netanyahu's vision for a greater Israel that sidelines the Palestinian cause by destabilizing every nearby state. And Piers tries to pivot by pointing to terrorists, but Sachs just shuts that down. This wasn't about safety. It was about reshaping the entire region, and if you follow the timeline, it's tough to ignore how closely it follows Netanyahu's roadmap. Sachs brings up Jake Sullivan as proof it's still happening. still dressed up as counterterrorism while it serves the same long-term plan.
Basically,
but look,
tragic.
you're blaming Israel for all of it, and fine, that's your view. Many people would say no.
I'm blaming Netanyahu in particular.
Right, and that's very clear. But America, they would say, look, we've been actively engaged in a lot of regime change and attempted regime change in that region for a specific reason. These countries are being run by malevolent dictators who have a hatred of the United States, and it's in our self-interest. Never mind anybody else's. I mean, could the two things be true at the same time? Yes, it suits Netanyahu and his bigger view of the region. I'm sure that's true. But it could also be absolutely in their belief, in America's interests to do this. I mean, I don't agree with them, but could it be that is a genuine belief on their part?
I agree with you that it's absurd because what has it gotten us? $7 trillion of war spending, massive debts, and chaos throughout the Middle East, from Libya, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon. It's complete bloodbath for more than 25 years now. And so it doesn't accomplish anything. I think it's extremely naive. And I think it's extremely wrong-headed. And I blame Netanyahu for it. He spelled it out. It's his strategy. We've tried it. We've done what he said. We're doing it today again in Syria. It's a disaster. It's time to say, run your own country. We'll run our country. That's my view.
In 2018, we both wrote pieces about the situation in Syria then. I wrote mine for the Daily Mail. This is after a suspected chemical weapons attack in Douma in Syria left dozens killed, including many young children. I said that the use of chemical weapons by Assad was on Obama's conscience, and it would ultimately embolden only one man, Vladimir Putin. You said on your website at the same time, the US and its allies should face reality and accept the persistence of Assad's regime, despicable as it may be.
Yeah, one thing, by the way, Piers, and honestly, you don't know, and I don't know. There's a very significant argument among very knowledgeable people that the chemical weapons was a false flag. And if you know American foreign policy, false flags are the essence of
But that
CIA
hasn't been proven,
operation.
as you know. I mean, that's just a theory.
No, it absolutely not proven. Not proven either way. But I know experts that are real experts who say, well, they say at a minimum it's absolutely not proven, but some of them say this is absolutely all of the signature of a false flag operation. And some say this is why Obama didn't go farther, because it was laid out to him. This was not even Assad doing this. This was the, quote, rebels under CIA authority. And if you study the CIA, as I have for a lifetime, you know that false flags are actually their MO. Are
you seriously suggesting that Barack Obama and his government and the CIA under his tenure launched a chemical weapons attack on Syrian people, killing a lot of civilians? Do you seriously think that's what happened?
So this is where things just start to boil. Piers tries to soften the narrative, okay, sure, Netanyahu has a plan, but what if the US has its own reasons too? You can tell he's trying to walk that centrist tightrope. Maybe just looked like the US was following Netanyahu's lead, but really they just hate dictators, right? And sure, maybe that's what some people genuinely believe, but Sachs comes right back with, yeah, that belief is naive, it's led to nothing but endless war, trillions in debt, and total collapse in country after country. That gets even more tense when Piers brings up Syria and chemical weapons. And Sachs just drops a full-on challenge to the mainstream narrative. He doesn't say Assad is innocent, but he brings up something that almost never makes it to big platforms like this. That there's a real case to be made that the chemical attack in Douma was a false flag. He doesn't present it like a conspiracy. He frames it as something people with deep knowledge in intelligence and foreign policy have raised serious doubts about. And then Piers goes full reactive. Are you seriously suggesting Obama's CIA attacked civilians? But Sachs holds the line. He's not saying Obama ordered anything. He's saying that the CIA has operated independently plenty of times, and their track record is full of shady regime change ops and covert red flags. Honestly, Sachs isn't being edgy here. He's just telling the truth that makes establishment types squirm.
Oh, I'm not saying that Obama did it. Most of the time when the CIA does things, the presidents have no idea what the CIA is doing.
But you think the CIA would launch a chemical weapons attack simply to smear Assad?
Of course it would. Are you kidding? It's done much worse than that. It launches coups, assassinations, wars. The whole history of the United States after 1947 is bring down
if you
one
don't mind me
government
saying,
after
Jeffrey,
another.
but here's my point. Why are you? You're always very keen to take a view, even if they're unproven, that is very anti-America. You're never quite so keen to take a view that is anti-dictators. I mean, Assad is a pretty vile dictator. Vladimir Putin is a vile dictator. Do you accept that your views are, I wouldn't say that they are twisted, but perhaps they're slightly jaundiced by the fact that your instinct is always that America's probably to blame unless they can prove otherwise?
No, it's not whether they're dictators or not. It's what the United States' role is. I don't believe that any country can arrogate this task of bringing down other countries' governments. The CIA has been involved in probably 90 or 100 covert regime change operations since it was founded in 1947. My whole life has been the United States at war. It's sickening. It's tiring because these wars are disasters. So it's just not our business to say that one's despicable, that one has to go. But literally, by the way, this is what Obama did. It's a shame that he did this. He said, Assad must go.
Yeah.
Well, come on. When he said that, by the way, in 2011 and 2012, and Hillary Clinton said that, I said, oh my God, here we go again. And literally, Piers, it's been 13 years of mass killing since then. No resolution at all. Completely predictable. This is what I'm against.
On a point of principle, when Obama said, if Assad uses chemical weapons, we will act, and then didn't act, from a purely political perspective, did that open the door for Putin to then just come in and have significantly higher influence in Syria and the region than he would otherwise have had?
Well, remember, just on this one fact, because it's really important, it is said in our newspapers all the time, Russia intervened in Syria. Russia intervened in Syria. Russia came into Syria in 2015. The United States plan to overthrow Assad dates to 2011. Russia came in 4 years afterward. We should never have done that. This was Netanyahu's provocation. He wanted wars in all those countries that I listed. Why are we doing Netanyahu's work when it is a failure anyway? So Russia didn't jump in and we had to react. Russia came in 4 years after we started this. We started this because Syria was on Netanyahu's list. And it was literally a list, by the way. We know from this remarkable story of the former NATO commander, Wesley Clark, the Supreme Commander of NATO.
Yeah, no.
Wesley Clark went into the Pentagon, after 9/11, and he was given the list of the 7 countries that we were going to take out in 5 years. This was Netanyahu's list.
And wrapping this up, Sachs doesn't even flinch. Even when Piers tries to paint him as anti-American, he's not defending dictators. He's calling out a foreign policy that's left a trail of disaster for decades. And when he points out that the US started trying to topple Assad years before Russia stepped in, it blows a hole in the usual excuse that America was just reacting. And at the core, Sachs is saying the quiet part out loud. The US has been following Netanyahu's war roadmap. and it's been a failure from day one. Funny how bias only gets mentioned when someone challenges the narrative. And speaking of bias, are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.